Hi there and welcome to Dinos Vault. Once again guys, today I review the Royal Enfield Bullet 500. The Bullet brings back fond memories of my childhood as we all used to play cricket back then at every given opportunity, and an uncle used to join us every now and then, and he used to ride a Bullet 350, and we all knew the moment he entered the colony even before seeing him, as the reverberating sound of the legendary Bullet thump filled our ears. Such is the impression that the Bullet has on all of us who grew up in the late 90s. And though the motorcycling technology has advanced unbelievably with all the electronics coming into play, I still feel a motorcycle can only be felt as a part of yourself and enjoyed thoroughly when you turn off all the electronics and experience the sheer thrill of riding a bike in its purest form. We all know Royal Enfield is an ageless motorcycle and an immortal brand that will live on forever despite all the new age motorcycles that might come and go in between. One more important fact about the Royal Enfield Bullet is that it has the longest production run of any motorcycle, having remained continuously in production since 1948, I believe, which speaks of its eternal presence in the hearts and minds of people not only here in India but also around the world. Now, first, let's take a look at the differences between the Bullet 500 and the Classic 500. The most important difference is that the Bullet doesn't get fuel injection like that of the Classic. It gets a carbureted unit. As a result, the Classic ends up giving you 1 bhp of more power and zero point 0.4 Newton meter of more torque than that of the Bullet. Dimensions wise, length of both the bikes remain the same. Width of the Bullet is up by 20 mm when compared to that of the Classic. Height is up by 20 mm. Wheelbase is up by 10 mm. Ground clearance is the same for both the bikes at 135 millimeters. Fuel tank capacity too is the same at 13.5 liters. Weight is up by 3 kgs for the Bullet. And yes, of course, the Bullet gets hand painted lines on the fuel tank, whereas the Classic doesn't. We get split seat setup for the Classic, whereas the Bullet gets a single seat layout. The Bullet also gets the old school thumping exhaust, whereas the Classic gets a more modern one. Everything else remains the same. Now let's also look at the differences between the Bullet 500 and the Bullet 350. Because apart from the differences in the displacement and power figures, both the bikes look almost identical from outside. So let's check out what are the hidden differences. Dimensions wise, width of the 350 is down by 10 mm when compared to that of the 500. Height is down by 80 mm. Ground clearance and wheelbase remain the same for both the bikes. Weight is down by 13 kgs for the 350. The fuel tank capacity, however, remains the same. The 350 gets 19-inch wheels at both ends, whereas the 500 gets an 18-inch wheel at the rear with a fatter 120 section tire. The 350 gets drum brakes at both ends, whereas the 500 gets disc brake up front and a drum brake at the rear. The 500 gets electric as well as a kickstart, whereas the 350 gets only a kickstarter. Now, with the comparison thing out of the way, let's take a look at the design of this bike. The basic design silhouette hasn't changed drastically when compared to that of the original Bullet Mark model. Over the years, the design has definitely evolved, but it still carries the sheer flair and royalty of the Bullet lineage. The round headlamp with the tiger eye pilot lamps, that's what they call it, gives it a signature Bullet look from up front. The bike looks classy in the forest green color. The chunky body colored telescopic forks too lend the bike a powerful look from up front. Coming to the profile, the teardrop fuel tank, the classic side panels and the legendary exhaust look absolutely awesome. At the back we have a simply laid out tail lamp cluster and a newly laid out pillion grab bar that look great. The instrument cluster is all analog and perfectly complements the overall retro look of the bike. Talking about the switch gear, we do get a high beam flasher and an engine kill switch. Talking about the engine specs, powering the Bullet 500 is a single cylinder 4-stroke twin spark air cooled 499cc engine that puts out a maximum power of 26.1 bhp at 5100 rpm and 40.9 newton meters of torque at 3800 rpm. This comes mated to a 5-speed gearbox. Now, talking about my test ride experience, the bike is surprisingly easy to ride and maneuver in traffic. Now, I've been riding some heavy bikes of late, so I'm not sure whether it's because of that, but I felt pretty much at ease with this bike in chock-a-block traffic as well as empty stretches. The seat is nice and comfortable. The gearbox with a heel and toe shifter is easy to operate. The clutch didn't feel all that hard or heavy. I loved the engine on this bike. It responds really well. Overtaking is a piece of cake. There's adequate power available on board to keep you interested. There are some vibrations apparent, but you are more caught up feeling as if you are the king of the road as you ride this bike rather than bothering about anything else. Talking about the brakes, we get a 280mm disc with 2-piston caliper up front and a 153mm drum brake at the rear. Braking was decent enough and offered good feedback at the speeds that I was doing. Talking about the suspension, we get telescopic suspension up front with 130 suspension travel and twin gas charged shock absorbers at the rear with 80 suspension travel. Ride quality has always been extremely good with almost all Royal Enfield models, and this one too offers superb comfort. Talking about the wheels and tires, we get 19-inch 90 by 90 front tire and an 18-inch 120 by 80 rear tire. The tires are regular tube tires and not tubeless. Talking about the mileage, there's no official mileage claim, but I believe you can expect up to 30 kmpl depending on how you ride. So please go through my mileage tips link in the description portion below. Price ex showroom Hyderabad for the Bullet 500 is rupees 1,55,164. So that's pretty much it. I just hope you found this video useful. Until next time, this is Dinos saying ciao. Take care, God bless, and ride safe.